What's going on, Niner fam? It is Peter Lucas. I'm a little late, and I don't really have an excuse for it other than technical difficulties and my family. But it is Thursday. It is June. The football season isn't close to starting, but we're going to have a show today. But before we get into it, we got to hit the music.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I like to know.
are you ready for start time?
And it is Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. And like I said, it's June. Football is nowhere near in sight. We haven't even gotten to training camp. But I'm going to tell you something. I want to tell a little story today. And before I get into it, make sure you give the video a like. Make sure that you give it a subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell so you get the notifications for when I go live. This show is on Twitter. It's on YouTube. Having a little problems with Facebook. And we're on Twitch. Pretty soon I'm going to be on playback, so look out for that. And I'm on anywhere where you can get your audio podcast. So I don't care where you get it, just get it. But so today, I get home from work. I pick it after I get out of work. I have to go pick up my girls, then go in, and then go home. My son's going to soccer practice, and then I'm sitting there and I'm making dinner for everybody, and all I could think about was the whole time I'm sitting there watching NFL Network, and all I could think about was football. All I could think about with football. And this is all the time. But the reason why I tell this story is because I'm sitting here. It's June. I'm not thinking about the NBA Finals. I'm not even thinking about baseball. I'm thinking about scouring the internet for anything having to do with the Niners, anything having to do with football in general. And that's how you know that you are a junkie, is that you just... Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that there's nothing going on right now. Yeah, all that matters is that I got you guys here. If I've got you here. But yeah, I chose to call this show Success because there is a... in the 49er fan base, there's a really, there's some outliers out there that for whatever reason they don't feel like the 49ers are a successful team. And you got a lot of fans out there of other teams, and especially of Twitter. Just don't go on Twitter. But I would say that a majority of fans would love to have a team perennially in the hunt all the time. All the time. Because that's what the 49ers are. They've been to the last 4 out of the last 5 NFC Championship games, and they've been to 2 Super Bowls. Now they lost. They haven't gotten a Super Bowl. They haven't gotten over the hump. But this team is a successful team. And I called this show Success because, I start to think, what constitutes success? When you look at football and you look at how people perceive their team, and I really think it's all relative. It just depends on what the history of your team is. There's a lot of things to take into account. The history of your team, the past success of your team, even the recent success of your team. You could be a nobody Lions squad and that has never won anything, and still get in 49er fans' mentions talking about their losers, and that there is what did he say? And it doesn't, like, your crusty old championships don't mean anything today, even though they've never won any, and they still haven't won one. So at what point do we as 49er fans, are we okay with having recent success? We've been to three Super Bowls since, and granted, we lost them all, but we've been to three Super Bowls since the last time we won one in '94. So you look at, but you look at the teams that they've had, and they had Harbaugh that I would consider a success. They were a success for 3 years. They were. It was a successful squad. They were the second best team, anywhere from fourth to second best team in the NFL. To me, that is a success. Now, I would venture to say that a majority of people say, "Oh, well, if you're not first, you're last." Uh, it's the whole Ricky Bobby mentality of if you're not first, you're last. That does not equate. I am perfectly good with enjoying the brand of football that my team plays, and getting, like, having a chance every single season, because football is a game of luck. I mean, there's a reason why we still consider the Bills, that Buffalo Bills squad that went to four straight Super Bowls, that's still a great team. That was still a great team. And you could say what you want to, but people remember that they went to four Super Bowls. Now, you might say that they're not great because they didn't win it. Okay. You show me one other team that's gotten to four straight Super Bowls. I You can't do it. Four straight? Like, that's win or lose, that is greatness. And I think that we get caught up in what other fan bases say, and sometimes you just got to be confident in what your team is, what your team has done, and be good with the fact that the person talking probably hasn't had their team probably hasn't had the same success as your team. Even if they won one Super Bowl, the odds are that they haven't been lately, that they haven't been to as many, they haven't been successful as long. Like, there's all kinds of ways to look at it. And oh, what's going on, Terror Dome? Appreciate you coming through, fam. Terror Dome in the house. Make sure that you check out my guy. He's always on in the morning time, so I try to catch him as much as I can. Him and Red Jet, his co-host, is in the building as well. Appreciate y'all for coming through. But it's but make sure you check them out. They're on YouTube, and give them a follow on Facebook, on Twitter as well. But but yeah, at what point are we secure enough in ourselves as adults to just be okay? To be okay. Yeah, we're going to be emotional at times, especially in the moment. When the 49ers lost the Super Bowl, I was numb. I'm okay talking about it. I was numb, because I could feel it coming. I could feel it coming as soon as the fumble happened with Christian McCaffrey. As soon as and especially after we missed the extra point, I said that's a wrap. That's a wrap. Like, but it's at the same time, I was numb to it because I knew I had to get on a show right after. Because you got to man up, you got to man up, for lack of a better term, and you got to get and you got to get on the horse, because that's one game. But guess what? We were the second best team in the league. You got to find ways to take silver linings out of those clouds, those dark clouds sometimes. And that's sports. That's sports. It's going to hurt, because odds are you're not going to win. The odds are you're not going to win. It's you and 32 other teams. The odds are you're not going to win. So it's you have to look at it from a chance. Like there's so much stuff that goes into getting a Super Bowl. Even the teams that won, we're gonna go over some of them today, like because I want to talk about success and 49ers success, what it's taken for other teams to be successful and get that ring and get that ring. And I want people to understand how much luck, how much I mean, it really comes down to luck because we're sitting there, we're talking about oh, this team is this and this team is that, but how many times has a team gotten a ring and somebody got hurt in the middle of the game? How many times has somebody got hurt before the game, or as they just barely scraped into the Super Bowl after their guys got hurt in the NFC Championship or AFC Championship game? It happens all the time. It happens all the time, and bad things happen in the game. There's and things that don't normally happen in the game. It's not so much. There's just a lot of luck involved in winning a Super Bowl. Getting through 32 teams is not easy. So when you get to the last two teams, at that point, it's just you're in my opinion, you're on. I mean, you're playing with house money at that point. Whatever happens, happens. But I'm happy that my team was in the Super Bowl, and now it's just about getting over. It's about getting over the hump, and about can we make the least amount of mistakes and get this job done. And this last Super Bowl, the 49ers made so many mistakes that there was no possible way. And people want to, and that's why I talk about successes, because a lot of people blame Shanny, but Shanny didn't fumble. Shanny didn't have a ball bounce weird on a punt and just barely touch a guy that was blocking. Shanny didn't do that. Shanny didn't miss an extra point. Shanny didn't. There's just so many things that happened in that game. Shanny didn't hold 3 times. There's just so many things that happened for the Shanny didn't miss a block either. So there's just so many things that happened. But I want to get Brett right back to the chat. And Red Jet says, yeah, you got to accept the gut punch for sure. Absolutely. Like, I mean, man up, get up, and we got to try again this season. Everybody should be excited about this team going into this season, because at this point, the NFC Championship game is the floor. That's the floor for this team. That's what we're expecting to get to. Now, can we get over the hump? Have these other teams in the league done enough? I really feel like the 49ers, however they got it done, I don't know how, but I feel like they've improved. Even though they didn't improve the offensive line like the way that I wanted them to, maybe what Chris Forrester says is true, and they get more continuity being together for another year, and that does this offensive line. This offensive line looks better this season. Who knows? Somebody Pooney, who knows what could happen? Somebody Pooney could get in there and be just a revelation, or another player. Who knows? Feliciano could end up starting at center and be a revelation at center, and all of a sudden we get no pressure up the middle anymore. Who knows? But Red says Bay Area sports equals torture. I mean, come on now. In recent years, but I mean, y'all got a World Series. Like, I mean, fairly recently. I mean, I don't think it's been 10 years. It hasn't been that long. And I'm trying to think of, that's about it. That's about it. But still, that's some. It could be worse. You could be an Angel fan. I'm an Angels fan, so we've gotten one. And Bebop in the house. Appreciate you coming through, fam. Always a pleasure. And Oh yeah, she said last World Series title was 2014. Wow, it's been that long. I didn't even feel like it had been that long, but yeah, it's so. I mean, it's been a decade since the Bay Area has had anything. But at the same time, this is the thing: we have a rich history in sports. The 49ers. I'm a 49er fan. Like I'm from LA originally, and then but I've always been a 49er fan. I'm actually I know the my Bay Area people are gonna be mad, but I'm a Laker fan. When I was watching basketball, and then I'm an Angels fan. I used to be a Giants fan when Barry was there, and then to me they did Barry dirty. The I didn't like the way that the club treated Barry on the way out, and so I went with the Angels because I lived across the street from the stadium, and yeah, it was, and I just went with them, like because I knew some of the players at the time. But with that being said, this is not that type of podcast. I'm talking about success today, and how I wanted to. Oh, there it is. How I want to start is like so. We just talked about success and what that means for everybody. It can mean something different, and for you, it might for you out there, and for for whoever's watching, it could mean it could mean a ring. It could mean just being competitive. It could mean, like I said, getting to the Super Bowl. To them, that's a success. For me, that's a success. But of course, the ultimate success is winning the ring. But I still think that being in 4 out of the last 5 NFC Championship games and getting to 2 Super Bowls, for as far as a head coach goes, when I'm looking at my head coach specifically, to me, that's a successful head coach. Now, for you, it may not be because a lot of people think that because he doesn't get the ring and he doesn't get over the hump, that he's not a success. We need to get somebody in here that is that can get us over the hump, and automatically that person would be successful. And we're going to disregard where Shanny brought this team from because understand, understand this team was in the depths. Shanny's going to be in here for almost 8 years now. It was in that this team was as bad from a team building standpoint as you could get. There was nothing. The cupboard, when we say bare, the cupboard was bare. The cupboard was, I mean, the spiders didn't even have cobwebs in there. It was so bare. It was really, I mean, so for him to build in what 3 seasons what he had started to build, it's to me and build the culture that they have to where now they're bringing in a draft class that has some talent. I see some talent on this draft class, but the talent in the draft class, I don't even think most of these guys are going to see the field because that's how good this roster actually is, and that most of these guys are going to be depth pieces. They're not going to get a lot of snaps. They're not going to get a lot of touches, and that's a testament to what Lynch and Shanny have built here because they're so successful. Like, if they weren't, then we'd be talking about, oh, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. Like, this rookie has got to replace this guy right now and all that stuff, like we used to do as fans. But we don't have to do that kind of stuff. Now we're just talking about who's going to eventually replace this guy. Who's going to eventually, when this guy's contract comes up, who can actually step into that spot and it be either serviceable or we don't miss a beat? Those are the conversations that we're having. And so I feel like a lot of not players, a lot of fans out there, we just need to breathe, man. You just need to breathe. And I just think that there's multiple ways to be successful. I am very content with Shanny as far as from a team build. I just want to see Shanny get over the hump. Just to shut up the people that's the only thing that there is. I just want to shut them up finally. That I mean, I would be perfectly fine. I would be perfectly fine winning the division every year, getting getting to Super Bowls, getting deep in the playoffs every single, and there's just always a chance to win. And like because the law of averages says that many times, the more times you're in there, you're probably going to get one eventually. But let me get back to this chat. And Red Jet says Niners have several successes. I just wished it happened consistently more on the highest stage because success shouldn't equal at least we made it that far. And I agree. I agree. It's not. I'm not saying that I'm not disappointed. At the same time, and I don't want to have a loser's mentality. But at the same time, I'm not out here shouting "Get rid of Shanny." I'm not going to do it because I see the potential. I see that, and it sounds weird to call it potential when he's been here for 8 years, but I just look at it as it's right there. It's right there. And this last Super Bowl was not Shanny's fault, in my opinion. You can point to a lot of Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl that we were in, that was Shanny's fault. This one was not his fault, in my opinion. And we have to look at these players in this one, and it wasn't one player that you could look at. That's what's even more frustrating is that it wasn't just one guy. It was multiple players that some of our best players. So what? Are we going to get rid of CMC because he fumbled in the Super Bowl? No, we're not going to do that. And the team knows better than that because they just re-upped him. Are we going to get rid of Moody? No, because they invested third round pick in him. He ain't going nowhere. And we're hoping that he gets better this season. But then you've got, Ray Ray's not here no more. But they're obviously not getting rid of Burford. They're not getting rid of Brendel. So you have to look at it as we need this team to improve. Where can we improve? As fans, that's what we should be looking at. And I think the one glaring area is that offensive line that we all wanted them to improve in. And we'll see. They brought in a couple of guards. We'll see if that brings any depth, any more continuity to this offensive line. Hopefully, because that's all we can do is hope that what Forrester says is correct and that continuity brings kind of solidifies that that unit. And that's what we have to do. We have to trust in our guys. And she said Niner fans won't ever breathe until, and it's hard on these Twitter streets. It's hard because you want to puff out your chest and talk about how great your team is and in these spaces, and all people ever do is point to that you didn't do it all. You didn't win it all. You didn't win it all. Even if you beat the brakes off of their team, you still got to listen to them. Oh, they're only good enough just to get there. And I still talk. I still talk about people. Oh, I don't care. I still talk about how we beat the brakes off the Eagles, or we beat the brakes off of the Rams, and all these other teams that they've had recent success, and more recent than the 49ers. Eagles got one, I think, and then the Rams got one a couple of years ago. But you've got to look at it from a standpoint. I feel for our own sanity, we have to look at it as a glass half full situation. And I don't want to act like this is even dire straits. We have the 49ers have an incredible roster, and that I think only got better and only got more depth. And I think that we're going to see it immediately in camp and even in the preseason, because I feel like the depth on this team is going to show out. It's going to show out. We're even going to see it in the preseason because I think our second and third stringers are better than some of these teams' first string. But we shall see. But my second question. So, even the rest of the league considers Shanny a genius. They call him a genius all the time. ESPN calls him a genius all the time. Everybody's always giving Shanny kudos about his play design and his play calling, that kind of stuff. But and most teams would love to. They would give their right arm to have a Shanahan as their coach. I just and we just talked about it, like why the 49, why the faithful kind of give him a hard time, and not all of the faithful. It's just some of them, but why they give them such a hard time, and why. I just think that I just think that is sports. People want to win all the time, and it's kind of not realistic. It's kind of not realistic, but I really think that the 49ers should win. I'm not giving Shanny an out. I do absolutely believe he needs to get it done, even with all the errors that were done, and me saying that it's not his fault. It's still kind of his fault because you have to take accountability for what you put on the field, for the team that you put out there on the field. And he's the coach, so he's responsible. Now, some of it's dumb luck, but you still got to take accountability. And I think that's what frustrates people even more about Shanny is that he doesn't take accountability. He will get out there and air his team out and just say we didn't execute the play. Like no, the play call was the right one. He just missed the call, or he missed the block, or he missed this, and he will put his team out there. He will never put it on him. He will never say it starts with me. You'll never get that kind of coach speak out of Shanny. He's always about he's always, and I think that's kind of the reason. I think that's part of the reason why people get frustrated with Shanny. I think if he had just had a little bit of accountability goes a long way. When you think about players like Brady and even Bill Belichick, as much as people hate Bill Belichick and Brady for that matter, when you hate those guys so much, but then they come out there in those press conferences and Brady says, "No, I got to be better, man. I got to be better." Like when they would lose, if they would lose, because there was quite a few years where they didn't. There was quite a few years between between championships for Brady, and he came out there and never blamed his teammates and always said, "Hey, I got to be better. I got to figure out a way to get better." Even though he was putting up historical numbers, it's on me. I got to get better. Belichick, same thing. We got to get out there. We got to be better as a team. We got to be better as a team. I've got to coach better. And that's the type of things that you want to hear as a player, as a fan. For me, I know that there is nothing. If there's one thing that frustrates the garbage out of me about Shanny is that he doesn't take accountability. That's the one thing with me. Like, I love Shanny to death. I want him to succeed, but I really wish he would take accountability. Uh, so, but you have coaches. There's some coaches out there, like coaches under Shanny's tree, that have got similar success as him. And one has, I don't know if you would call it, and I know 49er fans are going to hate to hear this, but has Sean McVay, has he surpassed? Has he surpassed Shanny? And the reason why I say that, people are saying, no, we beat the brakes off the Rams every year. Well, McVay got his ring. McVay got his ring. And so all the people out there that sit there and say the only success is when you get the ring, McVay got his ring. And he took a team that wasn't supposed to do anything, and they still uh they still got close. Like it was they had no business last year being anywhere near the playoffs. And and yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, and now they didn't do anything. Of course, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. But at the same time, the fact that McVay could get them there, that's a testament to his coaching ability. And because the cupboard, I mean, he still had Aaron Donald, he still had Matthew Stafford, and just that those couple of things alone, they had some really good players at key positions. But so I mean, it's but the rest of the cupboard was pretty rough. And like you have a Puka Nakua, they were missing their main receiver for most of the year, but it was a great coaching job by him to get them anywhere. And so I mean, I give McVay a ton of credit for that. As much as I can't stand the Rams, and much as I wish that they would be at the bottom of the cellar every single season, um, the 49ers do what they got to do to win games against the Rams, but in the regular season, but I mean, when it counted, McVay got it done. Now, granted, you're going to say, "Oh, well, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for the ball bouncing off of Tart's chest, if it wasn't for like 20 million, Jimmy G, this, that, and the third, that's all part of football. It's all part of football. And that's why I say it's so hard to do what the 49ers are doing and getting there, being so consistent. Rams weren't consistent in getting there. You got to look at it. You got to look at it. They weren't consistent getting it. They got their ring, and then they were out of it. They wouldn't they probably not going to be back for a while. I mean, that's just the reality. Uh, and they're not going to be in the conversation. Even if the 49ers had won, they would still be in the conversation because of the way they built their team. So I think that you have to look at what, and honestly, I don't think it's about personnel at this point. I think it's just they've got to find a way to get it done, and I really think it's the way that they do things, the way Shanny runs his offense. But um, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Red Jet says, "Oh, somebody agrees with me. Accountability is a big deal with this fan base. Pretty much the deal breaker." I mean, that could be that fringe part, but we look at you look at the when you're talking about the Rams, when you're the only other team that has sustained success like that is the Chiefs. Now the Chiefs have got three now. They've got three. And the 49ers don't have one in this regime. But the Chiefs head coach, Andy Reid, he was on another team that he was the head coach for a long time. And he got to, I want to say, four consecutive, was it four? I want to say he got to four consecutive NFC championship games. And it might have been three. I can't remember. Somebody in the chat let me know if it was three. But but I mean, regardless, that's sustained success. And Philly ran him out of town. They ran him out of town. They said he wasn't good. He wasn't good enough coach. Quite similar to what the 49er fans say about Shanny. And I'm not comparing Shanny to Andy Reid because it's kind of different. But it's kind of similar as well. And what I don't want to happen is what happened for Andy Reid, which completely different circumstances. Because Andy Reid with the Eagles had a flawed quarterback in Donovan McNabb that was a monster. He was a monster, but he was flawed. And he wasn't the most accurate person on the planet. They had no wide receivers. They had just all of them had stone hands, but they had a ridiculously good defense. And then the one year that they had a really good wide receiver in To, they went to the Super Bowl, and then that quarterback kind of went down the he kind of gave up. T.O.'s out there playing with a broken leg, and McNabb kind of just gave up. It was really weird, but then so then Andy Reid eventually goes away in Philly and reinvents himself with the Chiefs. And honestly, it was looking to be more of the same when he first got to the Chiefs. He ends up with Alex Smith, or he had first before Alex Smith, he had the dude from the dude from the Patriots that they Matt Castle. He had Matt Castle, and that was the disaster. Then he had Alex Smith, which they were winning games and they got to the playoffs. And and honestly, oh, what's going on, Danielle? Appreciate you for coming through, fam. But yeah, so then he gets to the playoffs. Then they end up drafting Pat Mahomes, and completely changed the face of that team because he didn't start his first year. They got to the playoffs his rookie season with Alex Smith. Then and he just got to sit and wait. And then they decided to put him in. Nobody knew. Nobody knew that Mahomes was going to be Mahomes. And the key to unlock Andy Reid's genius was Mahomes. Because if because when you have a quarterback that is literally able to do anything on the football field from an athletic standpoint, from a just clutch standpoint, from any I mean literally any standpoint you want to look at, when he's able to take regular plays, run around, and make something out of nothing on a consistent basis, when you actually do put a play together that looks like it was a great play design and it actually works, it makes you look like a genius. I don't necessarily think Andy Reid is that much of a genius as much as he lucked up. He's got a really good marriage with Mahomes, and he's got a really good uh, and he's learned over the course of his time to trust his quarterback. Uh, yeah, because he used to be. It just made no sense. Some of the plays that he used to run in Philly, but they would still win, so you couldn't really argue it. But then he gets with Mahomes, and now it doesn't matter what he calls. It doesn't matter what he calls because it's going to end up looking magical. And then they pull out some razzle dazzle play out of nowhere, and then it works, and now all of a sudden he's a genius. That's not quite the same reason why they call Shanny a genius. Shanny is a genius because he gets wins out of nothing. He got wins with Jimmy G. He got to a Super Bowl with Jimmy G. Okay? I mean, Andy Reid never got to a Super Bowl with a Jimmy G caliber. Donovan McNabb was much better than Jimmy G. And so when we sit here and we say success, we're hoping that Brock is that guy. And I honestly think he is. What I'm hoping for is that Shanny, like we said like I just talked about with his with Andy Reid's marriage with Mahomes, is I'm hoping that Shanny's marriage with Brock Purdy turns into that trust, and that he's willing to just let Brock run the offense and get out of the way and take credit for it when it goes well. That's all. That's all you got to do. You got to be like Andy Reid. Get out of the way of greatness, call some basic plays, let Brock do what he does, because we can sit here and we can say that Brock is a part of is just a part of the offense, and for the most part, I would say that's probably true. But there's times when Brock makes something out of nothing. And so you've got to let him do what he does best, which is just sling it. That's what that's honestly, it's so Brock Purdy's supposed to unlock Kyle. It's not about unlocking Kyle. Kyle needs to put some of the locks back on, is what I'm saying, and just call some basic plays, and let Brock see what he sees out there on the field and make the adjustments himself, instead of making everything have to go through Shanny's play call. Uh, I think that the restraints that Shanny has on every little part of the offense actually restricts the offense when they start playing these better teams. Because when you're going up against a good defense, all of a sudden when they know what you want to do, you can disguise it however you want to. They know what you want to do. They know what you want to do. These are good players out here at this point. And they are just going to guard. They're going to take away those parts of the field. And they're going to, and exactly what they did. Everybody made a big deal about that interception, that where the guy like knew Brock was going to throw the ball to the flat, and he actually jumped up and got the interception. Like, I mean, it's because it's the predictability of the fact that we're going to run a gimmick play. We run is gimmick plays. I mean, everything is motion this, motion that. Like, let's do the same play in 11 personnel that we do in 12. Like all that kind of stuff. It's all gimmicks, and it works against most of the league. So it's not that it's bad, but you have to have a changeup. You can't go fastball all the time. You can't go if a guy goes out there and throws curveballs every single time to a guy. Like eventually he's going to time it and knock it out of the park. And you've got to have that other pitch. You got to have that changeup. You got to have that four seam, and just blow it by him one time. That's got to happen. Otherwise, you're gonna end up getting knocked out of the park. But you coach us in the big moments. I know. You know what? Here's the thing. These are all my opinions. Shanny forgot more football than I know, than I probably will ever know. At the same time, I've been watching football for going on 40 years now. 38 years? And I've seen a lot of football. I've watched a lot of winning teams. I've watched a lot of teams not win. And there's a pattern. There's patterns that are there. And you've got to see the patterns. And somebody's got to be strong enough to me in the locker room to be able to tell that coach or whatever, hey, this is the pattern. But I don't think that we have anybody in the building right now that could tell Shanny that. I'll be honest. But I don't want it to be this show is really about success and what we'd like to see Shanny, first off, what we consider to be successful. And then do we still consider Shanny to be a successful head coach? And that's what I was saying earlier, is that I still consider him a successful head coach. To do what he's done with this team and this culture and this roster, I think he's absolutely a successful head coach. And these are all things that I would like to see him improve upon, because every single year, that's what you're looking for. You're looking to improve. Every team should be looking to improve. If they go into the next year thinking that there's just going to be a different result because they don't make this error or they don't make that, no. Because now the other teams have the entire offseason working on what you did last year. You've got to improve. You've got to find another way to be able to beat the other team and get better in your weakest spots. And that goes for everything. That's life. That's life. So what's going on, David McNiner? Appreciate you coming through. That's life. We all got to improve every day. We got to be looking to improve. If you're not looking to improve, and you're and unless you're a multi-millionaire, billionaire, uh, it's like it's not gonna be you're not gonna be successful without looking to improve. So, uh, but appreciate you coming through, David. Like, make sure that you check out my guy and him and Bryant Culp on their show on YouTube. Make sure you give them a follow, and on Twitter as well. But yeah, the what was I saying? Uh, so when we look at coaches like McVay and Andy Reid, I mean, McVay, the first time he was in a Super Bowl, he scored the least amount of points. I think it was like the lowest scoring Super Bowl in history. And uh, is that luck? Is that luck? I think they all blamed it on Jared Goff, but I mean, even that, it had been working up to that point. I think some of that, I mean, a lot of that is bad game plan, but some of it probably was bad luck too. And then Andy Reid possibly could have had four, possibly could have five if he just had sometimes there's just things that happen in these games. The ball bounces weird, and you just got to chalk it up. You have a good team, you have a good process in place. Let's try to improve again the next year, and let's go again. That's where I'm at with it. I want to see this team get better. I want to see Shanny improve something. I want to see him improve. Well, just what we talked about. Like, I'm not going to go over it again, but yeah, I just want to see it improve. I don't want to see him roll out the same exact thing that he did last year. There has to be an improvement. Wherever that improvement is, it could. And what I'm hoping, I will tell you the one thing that I do hope doesn't happen, because I have a feeling this defense is going to go back to how it was the year prior and be a ridiculously dangerous offense or a defense. And I'm hoping that we don't start resting on our laurels of being a dangerous defense again, and Shanny starts playing conservative ball again. Because I don't think I think that's going to hurt Brock's maturation. That's my opinion. But so hopefully that doesn't happen. But so when we talk about Shanny being a successful coach, what teams, and maybe some of the people in the chat can tell me what teams do you think would take him today? And are there some teams, even some playoff teams, that might take him today? I talked about this with Brandon on our show on Tuesday, and I mean, we disagreed on a couple, and I got it from, shout out to Jason Aponte and from Gold, I think it's Gold Standard. But he's Right Option Podcast. I'm going to give my guys a shout out, but he wrote an article for Niner Nation, and he broke down, like, basically team by team, they're all 32 teams, and of the teams that he thought would take Shanny. We disagreed on a couple, but what teams do you guys say, if anybody wants to write in the chat, like, of what maybe some teams that you think that they would take, like, that would take Shanny over the coach that they have now? I will say I've got that article. I've got that article here, and I think of some teams. This is one that I'm not sure. I'm not sure that they would do it, but I could see it. So Buffalo. How do people think that Shanny would look with a Josh Allen at quarterback? I think it would be hard. You would be hard pressed to to say that the 49ers wouldn't be unstoppable with a talent like Josh Allen, even though there's a lot of people out there that just don't that don't give Josh Allen his credit. He is an otherworldly talent with that his coaching staff, and this is why I'm sure this is why Jason thinks that they would replace him with Shanny is but the coaching staff just doesn't do right by Josh Allen. They don't run the ball. Like this is a team that runs the ball. They get 5.5 yards a carry. That's what they average. But they don't run the ball. They run the ball probably the least amount in the league. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know they're in the bottom 5. Like they are, and they've got good running backs. They just don't like running the ball. They want to run the whole thing through Josh Allen. And I don't care who you are, unless you're Brady, you're gonna get interceptions when you're throwing the ball 45 to 50 times. It's gonna happen. There's no way. First off, your offense probably isn't that complex as the Patriots had back in the day. Odds are it's not that complex. And even if it is, Josh Allen's not Brady from that standpoint. Nobody is. Tom Brady was a computer. And but when you look at that team and could Shanny win with I mean I think it's undoubtable that he could. I don't know that offense is the issue though. I don't know that offense. I do. I'll say this. I think that would be a perfect marriage. That might be Shanny's perfect marriage as far as like giving him another worldly talent to make his wrongs rights. So I could see it. I could see it. So I would say that he could probably win with the Bills. If the Bills were the Bills from last year, I don't know about this year. They lost a lot of players this year. Um, but if Josh Allen was on the 49ers, it would be undoubted. Undoubted. And not that I'm saying that, oh, I don't want Brock Purdy. Absolutely not what I'm saying. I love Brock. I love Brock. I think Brock is going to be a phenomenal quarterback. I think he's going to take a step forward this year. But I mean, Josh Allen is an otherworldly talent. He's an alien. And he is the fact that he throws the ball as much as he does and doesn't turn the ball over more I think is a testament to his ability. So we can sit here and say he's not this, that, and the third. But I think in Shanny's offense, he would throw the ball way less. And you could even probably add him in on some of those RPOs and that kind of stuff. So it would add a whole other facet. But anyway, let's move on to another team. How about the Jets? Oh, Justin on X says is asking, can you get an update on the 49ers special teams, how they were doing during. I mean, they didn't really do a lot of special team stuff. I think that there was a couple of guys out there catching punts. I know Pearsall tried to catch a couple of punts or kicks, and it didn't necessarily look good. But they don't really know what they're doing yet, as far as for not Forster, the special teams coach, and I'm blanking on his name right now. But the special teams coach came out and said that it's a work in progress because he says that they're not quite sure as to what it's going to look like. Nobody's really going to know what it looks like at least until preseason because every team is looking at these rules in a different light. So we don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that try out running backs back there. That's what I think is going to end up happening in the beginning. But they've said that even certain teams are using regular players to like just for Kansas City. Justin Reed was practicing kicks just so they can have an extra defender. out there, which is I think is just weird. Because they're not allowed. If you kick it through the end zone, it's like a penalty. They're incentivizing that they have to kick it in bounds. And Holiday, no, Holiday is in. I don't think that's his name, but yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it's early in the process. Everybody's trying to figure it out. I heard it. I've been listening to multiple teams. I'm trying to get more well-rounded and find out what's going on with some of the other teams, so that we can all be ready as a collective for what the NFL is going to look like next season. And I'm starting to listen to more stuff about about our division mostly, but everybody seems to have the same ideas about the new rules. Is that everybody says it's a work in progress. Nobody really knows who they're going to use as the returner. Nobody seems to know who they're talking about how they're going to do the kicks, and some people are talking about using their punter. And because they're used to kicking, if they're going to do squib kicks, if they're going to do it, there's a whole bunch of things to that. So but keep an eye out. I'm sure as we get into training camps, we're probably going to get more video. There just wasn't a lot of video of OTAs and mini camp, but I think when training camp hits, we're going to get more video, and it's going to be a lot of teams were really kind of just what they put out a video the last year, and it's probably going to be the same this year. So we've got to kind of trust the beat writers and what they're saying, and the coaches of what they're telling us is happening. But yeah, I'm sure some video is going to get leaked out about it, all of that stuff. Um, Brian Schneider, thank you, Terradome. I appreciate it. Brian Schneider, yeah, it's he just seemed really. He said he's asking around to other coaches. He said a whole bunch of stuff like they really just don't know. They really don't know what they're gonna do. So crazy. But anybody got any ideas of of any teams that they think that could take that would take Shanny like right away? I mean, I'm telling you, I think that there's a couple. I think that and I'm talking about playoff teams. I think the Jets would take Shanny. I absolutely some ones that I disagreed with. There was one that I disagreed with. Oh, I think because he says that because Jason said because Pittsburgh just gave Mike Tomlin. I think that Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh might be loyal. They've always been a loyal type of team, but if I was them, I would take Shanny in a heartbeat, like over Tomlin. I'll be honest. Uh, Shanny's culture and the way that he thinks of football is right in line with with the way Pittsburgh has traditionally wanted to play football. So I don't I would not put it past him if Shanny was available, and I don't care if they were year in. I could see it. Uh, then there's another one. Oh, he said Cincinnati would give up Zach Taylor, and I don't agree. I don't agree with that. Like, the man went to a Super Bowl, and if it wasn't for his quarterback being injured, I mean, they've been competitive even with him being injured. So I don't know. I think Zach Taylor's a pretty good coach. Uh, so I don't know that they would give up on him that quickly. And there was another one that I said. Oh, this is the one that we disagreed on as well. Denver. What do you guys think about Denver? Uh, McNiner thinks there's going to be a whole bunch of kickoff returns for touchdowns this year. I don't know. We'll see. I think that if the first week or two that happens, then I think that what's going to happen is you're going to see a bunch of them just put a bunch of defensive backs out there, and they'll just put them off the line of scrimmage. I don't know what the rule is about them. Do they have to be on the line of scrimmage, or do they have to have a certain number of people on the line of scrimmage? That'll be interesting to find out. But if they don't, I would say that it's probably you're probably going to find them back people off the line so that the guys can't get through to. It gives them like a running start, somewhat of a running start. So we'll see. But Denver is an interesting team with Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton is a really good coach, and I think he did the most with what he had last year. But at the same time, I think that they would take Shanny in a heartbeat. Why would you not? Like Shanny can get by with an also ran quarterback, and he can get Sean Payton needs a quarterback to be successful. Shanny has proven that he doesn't need a quarterback to be successful, and he can turn around a team quicker than it's taken Denver to turn around. Let's put it that way. And we'll see what Denver is this season, but I don't think they're going to be good. I mean, Bo Nix, I don't have a lot of confidence in Bo Nix, and, and so I just think. McNiner says Tomlin had one thing that Shanahan does in the Super Bowl. Okay, that when was Tomlin's last Super Bowl? Shanahan wasn't the 49ers coach. I mean, and Tomlin really got his ring, in my opinion, off of the coach before him's players. Like he stepped in. He stepped in after they had been perennially good. So I don't know. Tomlin, eh, I'm not impressed. Like I'll be honest, because that team hasn't done anything for a while. It's been a while, and we can blame some of it on injuries, but I mean, come on. At a certain point, uh, you have to be, and people are going to say, "Oh, well, he's never had a losing record." Okay, is the bar that low? Is the bar that low? Are we? I mean, we're talking about Shanny's getting people talking about getting rid of him because he's not winning Super Bowls. Like, and then we're talking about the other coach like he's great because he's never had a losing season. I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? Like to me, that's not something to aspire to. Like that means a whole lot of mediocrity. Sean Garrett, did Sean Garrett have a losing? He probably had at least one losing season. But Sean Garrett, nobody called him great. I mean, granted, he doesn't have a Super Bowl, but I don't know. Tomlin, it's not that I don't like him as a coach or as a person. I just think he's gotten a lot of miles off that one Super Bowl, and there's a lot of coaches out there with one Super Bowl that got fired for less. So I think he needs to thank that ownership family that doesn't have a problem with mediocrity for as long as he's had it. But and here comes Terror Dome. I understand. I understand. We can sit here and say he's a leader of men, but he's not a leader of winning men. Winning season, an 8-8 season or a 9-8 season does not make you great, in my opinion. It's been a long time since anybody has been scared of the Steelers. The I mean, even in their own division, I can't remember the last time. Like, I mean, it's been probably what 10 years since anybody's been scared of him. Yeah, I understand that no one moves until the ball is touched or hits the ground, but where do they have to line up is my question. and and I get it. It takes one broken tackle, but my question is where where do they have to line up, and can they line people off the line up people off the line of scrimmage? Because if that's the case, then you're probably going to see more DBs. If you see a bunch of touchdowns in the first couple of weeks, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see more DBs out there for speed. Uh, I get it. They have one more ring than us. When was that ring? When did they win that ring? I don't think so. I do not think so. I would not put him in the Hall of Fame for winning one Super Bowl and not having a not having a losing season. I don't see it. I wouldn't. That's just me. But when was his Super Bowl win? I'm gonna look that up. Where is it? What is there? It is. They just okay. There we go. Um, he had two Super Bowl appearances, and he won one. Super Bowl. I mean, why won't they give me a year? Somebody gonna give me a year in the chat, right? $2009. So 2009. It's been almost 15. It's been 14 years. 15 years. It's been 15 years since he won his Super Bowl. I mean, and the last time, but haven't won a playoff game since 2017. We all know. Can we stop it for a minute? Like, we all know that if that was any other organization, and I mean any other organization, if a man had not won a playoff game in 7 years, he'd be gone. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter that he won a Super Bowl. When did the Eagles just got rid of Doug Peterson? He had just won a Super Bowl, and they got rid of him with the quickness. Now, granted, it's different organizations, all kinds of different factors for all these guys. But I mean, the man. It's been 15 years. How long do you give him? How long do you give him? He just gets a. So if Shanny wins a Super Bowl, one Super Bowl, you let him coach till whenever. Well, will we let him coach to whenever? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. Like it's mediocrity. We can say what we want, but at a certain point the game passes you by. And that's happened to a lot of coaches. I just don't think the Steelers are going to they're not going to win anything under his tenure. I will bet anybody in this chat right now Tomlin does not win one Super Bowl for the rest of his tenure with the Steelers. I can 100% guarantee it. I will bet anybody. Oh no. Hey, Terradon. Hey, look. If Shanny wins the Super Bowl, no, he's got to have he's got to have an he's got to get 15 years. He should have 15 years. I mean, that's what we do. And Tomlin just got a new contract. So he should have 15 years after he wins one. Like that But you'll take it. You'll take the bet. How much are we betting? How much are we betting that Tomlin's not going to win a Super Bowl? So, are we talking about the end of this contract? I'm wondering, are we talking about the end of the contract? What are we talking about? Because they could keep him on indefinitely, and like we could all be dead. He'll still be coaching because the Pittsburgh just doesn't want to fire their guys. Like so what are we talking? 2,000? Oh, bet. How much? Bet. Yeah, how much are we betting? Whatever, how much ever you want to bet, Terradome. I will leave it up to you. And this is on video. I pay my bets. I have no problem paying my bets. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I will bet you the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to win a Super Bowl by 2027. Who is there? Who? Yeah, it's not going to happen. But with that being said, we talked about success today. So because I've got the mic, we talking about success today, which means the antithesis of what Mike Tomlin's done for the last 15 years. But I digress. Oh, dog! I said something. I'm talking money. I'm talking. I'm not doing 100 push-ups. By that time, I'm gonna be what 50. I'm not doing 100 push-ups. Did you see those pictures I put up on Twitter? I'm not doing 100 push-ups. Uh, you can get. I mean, however long it takes me to do them, but hey, if you can do 100 push-ups at 54, then it don't matter. We could take because they're not gonna win. So you'll be 50. You will be 57 by that time, right? 57. So you'll be 57 by that time. Like, are you still gonna be able to do 100 push-ups at 57? I mean, I'll start getting ready. I should probably get in shape anyway. But I know I'm not gonna have to do 100. But you know, you're my guy, Terradome. Like, love y'all to death, and McNiner, everybody. Nobody's got to agree with me. It's fine. Like, but in my opinion, and we can go all day about Tomlin and about there's a couple other coaches that I think are way overrated in this league and players too. But it is what it is. With that being said, I'm going to get out of here. We talked about success today, and we talked about what it's going to take for people to consider Shanahan a successful coach, and what basically he's going to need a lot of luck. He's going to need a lot of luck to get, because if I remember correctly, Tomlin had to have some luck to get his Super Bowl as well. He had to have a fumble on the the 1 yard line, and the defensive line, or was it an interception or a fumble? I can't remember. Him running back 99 yards. Yeah, that's luck. But Shanahan's going to have something. Shanahan's going to have something that goes right his way in those situations. Those are the teams that win. Every team that wins the Super Bowl has the ball bounces their way from time to time, and sometimes you got to create your own luck. But the only way you create that luck is that you just play the game and let go. You got to let go. And I think that's when you try to control everything, that's when the ball doesn't bounce your way, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. I appreciate everybody coming out. Y'all were great. Even you, Terradome. Terradome ready to fire Shanny today. I agree to a point. But Terradome, he ran the ball and CMC fumbled. I mean, he ran the ball. He tried to run the ball, and they got a holding call, and they called him back and took him out of. They just killed drives. It's sometimes you just gotta have the luck go your way, and sometimes you just have to run the play instead of doing all the bells and whistles, and let your quarterback make a play. And you got to trust in the fact that you've got better players than the other team does. And I think more often than not, the 49ers got better players than the other team. Period. I think so. I'm very confident in this roster, and I think that they can do a lot more if given the leeway to do so. But uh, no, I get that he didn't get points. I get it that he didn't get points off of it. I get that he didn't get points off, but it's the fact that they would have had points. 49ers were driving. That they would have been in the reds inside the red zone at that point, and that killed their one of their drives. And because after that, they weren't driving like that. They didn't have many drives where they were moving the ball like that, and they just did not have a lot of luck. They didn't even really have the ball that much, to be honest. Make better picks in the draft. Hey, I'm not going to argue with you there. I think that the draft, that the fact that their neglect of the offensive line is going to be a problem. I think it's going to eventually be a problem, but I don't think it's going to be a problem this year as far as getting them to the playoffs and getting them another deep run in the playoffs. But and then he said Casey fumbled. He said no more tight ends they can't catch. Well, we got a plethora of tight ends in there now. So we'll see. We'll see. KC fumbled so they cancel one another out. If it worked that way, it would be great. But a lot of the times it's momentum. You know this. Come on, Terradome. You know that it's a momentum thing. Like when you've got the momentum swinging one way and you're driving and then all of a sudden you just lose the ball in the Super Bowl, turnovers are everything in the Super Bowl. If you lose the turnover battle, it is you usually cannot overcome that. But every turnover is huge in a one game scenario. So I don't know. I like yeah, I agree. I agree with this. I agree with this. Well, I got to get out of here. I got to go and do some push-ups so that I can be 54 and be able to do 100. I could probably do 30 without practicing, but 100 is a lot. 100 is a lot. But I don't think I might have to do it. But we got this show as proof. Yeah, I feel you, Terradome. But we got this show as proof that's what's going down. If by 2027 Tomlin wins a Super Bowl, somebody needs to call me out and remind me that I've got to do 100 push-ups, and I'll do them on air. I'll do them on air, so everybody knows that I did them. I'm not going to be like that other dude that said he was going to eat a whole T-shirt and ate a couple of pieces and then just bowed out. And then he did something. He said something else. I can't remember. I can't even remember what his name is. But anyway, I appreciate everybody coming through. I've got to get out of here because I got to put my kids to bed and do some talking with my wife and tell her that she's got to motivate me to do some push-ups. But it's another week of the off season. Everybody needs to. I know that Danielle said that was it Danielle or Red Jet that said that 49er fans can't breathe. We all need to breathe. Take this off season, get all your breaths in, get your steps in, get your be confident that we have a Super Bowl ready roster. We've got all we need to do is stay healthy. This team is so good that they are going to get there. We are good everywhere on this squad. The regular season, I don't feel is going to be a problem as long as they can stay healthy. The it's when we get to the playoffs. What does Shanahan do to be successful? And I'm gonna leave you with that. But make sure you give the video a like. Make sure that you give it a subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell so you get the notifications for when I go live. Next week, make sure that you check out me and Beto and Brandon if Beto gets his internet right. And and then on Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, and then I'll be on again next Thursday, same time, same channel. But I appreciate everybody coming out. And once again, we are on YouTube, we're on Twitter, got to figure Facebook out, and we are on Twitch. And I will be on playback soon, so keep an eye on that. And I'm anywhere where you can get your audio podcast. So make sure that you subscribe to me on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great rest of your week, great weekend. Enjoy your families. Go outside, touch some grass, have a good time. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good night and go Niners.